Hello everyone, welcome to another beer review. Now today, sadly, we're on the last beer that was kindly donated by Slurpy Dave from YouTube, kind of pubs review, not only in the Isle of Man but throughout the UK as well. And I'll put a link down to his channel and the videos as well, because he kindly donated these. He doesn't need me to promote him anyway and that type of stuff. Most people that know their beers and enjoy the traditional beers and everything else and things like that already know who he is and probably watch his channel regularly. But he was very kind to basically give me and send me some nice beers, and he sent me a nice fresh oyster stout. But today we're doing a bitter, so we're doing Bushy's TT Isle of Man Premium Manx Ale, which is a bitter and that type of stuff, which again, very generous, and he gave us a Bushy's TT glass as well and things like that, which were very, very kind of him. So it was very kind of him. In fact, the last person that showed me that kindness was a man that I caught Pumpney's sister. Oh sorry, not his sister, his wife's sister, that was it. Jesus, oof, I'm glad I didn't mention his name now. After saying that, I caught Pumpney's sister. No, I caught Pumpney's wife's sister, and he was very generous for some strange reason. I don't know why. You know what I mean? Although he did say that his wife knew about it, but he seemed to be very, very generous nonetheless. But anyway, I'm not saying that I've caught Dave doing anything dodgy and all that, because I haven't. I'm not saying that he doesn't do anything dodgy, but I have no knowledge of it. And maybe he doesn't, maybe he does, I don't know. I'm digging a hole here, aren't I? Right, let's talk about the beer. So it's a half litre, it's 4.4%. It's brewery conditioned. And of course it's guaranteed pure by law. It contains Manx grown ingredients. And what's this? So Bushy's brewery conditioned ale is brewed using the finest ingredients, including Manx grown hops, a fine fresh tasting ale that can be enjoyed with a meal or as a refreshing livener at any time of the day. And yeah. And it's brewed to Bushy's original recipe in the British Isles. So there you go. And again, it's just giving you more details of sample the atmosphere of the world famous TT motorcycle race in a bottle. Bushy's brews the largest selection of real ales on the Isle of Man and is beloved of beer and bike fans alike. And there you go. Marvellous. What's this say? GBM, Great Beer Manx, there you go. But yeah, so shall we crack it open and see what it's like? Hopefully this is a good bitter, because I like a good bitter, so I do, I've always liked a good bitter. Well, here we go. There we go. I've actually poured that quite nicely, you see that, eh? You can't beat luck, you know. And it looks nice and clear. Nice one for your head. I'm getting aromas here, I'm trying to ignore them right now because I'm just obviously talking about the colour, because that's so important to people, because, you know, people like to talk about colour nowadays. In fact, people are obsessed with fucking colour these days. I don't know what's wrong with them. But anyway, I'm trying to ignore it because I was just trying to, you know, describe what was going on. What was it smell of? I'm getting that slightly toasted. Kind of, yeah, I'm getting slightly toasted, biscuity, kind of malt edges on the grain, which I think obviously is a very kind of common aroma with Bushy's ales, I think. I think it's one of the ones that, it's an easily identifier, because I was picking up a very similar kind of smell to a degree in the oyster stout as well. But yeah, there's a smell there, and I'm trying to kind of. It's. Well, we used to get the roasted malts at the whiskey distillery. I grew up basically close to a whiskey distillery due to the fact that my dad was the technical director there. But anyway, to cut a long story short, there were just certain smells you could smell, and the mash smell with the kind of roasted malts and things like that. And sometimes there's the cases of the wind was blowing the right way, by God, To the point is that there's got a slight kind of animal feed to it, because obviously nowadays a lot of distilleries sell the mash off to farmers to use for feed for their livestock. And that's another thing. Sometimes when I've been round about farms and things like that, you get this kind of smell that instantly reminds me of a distillery. And that's what this does, is because of that. One of the major things about Scotch whiskies, they really do use very, very high quality ingredients, and they use a heck of a lot of them as well, more than what breweries use. This is a thing because they want to get as much out of it as possible. So while basically breweries are doing it for flavour, they're doing it for yield. So they want to get as much, so they're putting as much in there to try and get as much out, because the whole process of actually distillation is the more alcohol that's actually produced in the mash is, or from the mash, is what's really going to give them the returns when they're basically doing the distillation. And it's that kind of smell, which again I associate with quality. So this is what I'm getting off the smell of this. I'm just getting that kind of slightly kind of quite a strong roasted malt kind of. When it is, it's the best way is it's like slightly almost granola, like that kind of, you put your bag into your granola and you get that kind of slightly kind of toasted kind of grainsy kind of smell. Well, that's what you're kind of getting there, and it's really quite nice. But again, you've got that kind of syrupy sweetness that's kind of there as well with it. So let's see what it tastes like. Right, okay. A bit more floral. Not a big bitter at the back end, but again, that might change as I get more acclimatised to it. There's a bit of bitterness there, but not as much as, of course, I like, but there's a nice bit of floralness in the middle there anyway. So, I mean, again, unfortunately, a lot of these kind of floral tones in the mid-tongue, they're becoming less so in a lot of kind of beers nowadays. Unless it's golden ales, unfortunately. A lot of times I've noticed that you'll maybe taste a golden ale or sometimes a pale ale, but mostly golden ales, and you'll maybe get a bit more floralness in the mid-tongue that you just don't really get. And this is a kind of lighter bitter anyway. It's not a heavy bitter, but at the end of the day, it's a nice looking beer, as you can see. But it's got this nice little bit of floralness that I noticed, and it's just quite nice. And again, it's got that kind of nice kind of green feel to it. And overall, it's actually a nice beer. I'm in a bit of a kind of a quandary here with this beer, because it being a bitter, I'd like a bit more bitterness at the back end, but I feel that if it had a bit more bitterness at the back end, it would detract from some of the other flavours in the mid-tongue and maybe a little bit at the front of the mouth as well. So what I'd maybe gain with a bit more bitterness at the back end, I would lose with some other flavours earlier on that I'm enjoying as well. You see, that's that kind of thing is like, the grass isn't always greener. You're enjoying what you've got there, but it's always a case of, you're looking over the fence to say, was there anything more? And it's that type of thing, whereas if you did get a little bit more, you would probably lose out. And there's the problem, you know. And sometimes, you know, it's like a game of blackjack or pontoon. You know, sometimes it's better just to stick, you know. And it's like this. You know, I'd like to go for the pontoon. I'd like it, you know. I'd like to kind of, you know, hit blackjack or whatever you call it. But most quite happy to sit here with a 19 and see what it takes me. You know what I mean? And it feels a bit like that. Yeah. So it's one of these beers. It's like it's pulling me one way, but it's also pulling me another way. Thing is, though, it's quite a nice mouthful. The thing is, so obviously with me drinking keg beers and everything else, and obviously Dave's sending me the oyster stout, which was actually a live beer from the cask in the bottle. The mouthfeel is obviously, I'm used to a softer mouthfeel, and this has a little bit of a sharper mouthfeel because of the carbonation, because it's a normal bottle. So it will have a little bit more carbonation than you would get, say, in one of the 5 litre kegs, or obviously in a live beer straight from the cask as well, you see. So it's a slightly different mouthfeel that I haven't had for a while, just because I've not been drinking bottles for a while. I try to avoid them as much as possible, and which is a good thing. So I'm not going to say it's a bad mouthfeel, it's just obviously more of a bottle mouthfeel than, but it's still a nice mouthfeel for a bottle. It's not over carbonated and that type of stuff, but it's just a wee bit of a culture shock because I've not been drinking bottles. Well, I haven't really drunk. When was the last time I actually had a bottle of beer? Oh God, I would have probably said maybe mid-December, early to mid-December, I would probably say, because I did a lot of videos at the start of December to be kind of go in between in the lead up to Christmas and things like that, while I was getting everything else kind of sorted and everything else. So I recorded quite a few videos kind of early, and yeah, it was probably would be kind of early to mid-December was probably the last time I actually had a bottle of beer. I'll be totally honest, I haven't missed them. Although I'd saying that, though, I've probably missed them. I was out over a week ago on a sesh, one Saturday sesh. And it was a Saturday sesh in the Guinness, because there was nothing else to bloody drink really around about the pubs that I was in. To the point as I was probably to a certain degree I was missing bottles. You know, and here we go. More texture. No flavour, but texture, you know. It's like, Jesus, God, you know what I mean? What it reminds me of, I think the best way to describe Guinness, especially if you're having a session on it, from somebody that actually likes beer flavour and traditional flavours and everything, and likes good strong beers and things like that, is when you're drinking these kind of beers, like Guinness and things like that are all about texture and not about the flavour. It just reminds me of congee, which is the kind of rice porridge that the Chinese eat, that, and it's like the beer equivalent of congee. It's like, you know, it's all texture and bugger all flavour, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, it's like, oh, you know what I mean? As I always say, it's like basically eating the pie shell without the pie filling, you know what I mean? I'm sure I'm probably kind of offending lots of Guinness drinkers, but tough. It's the fucking truth. No, that's a really nice beer. It really is. It's got a nice, like I say, the first thing is you start bringing the glass up, you start noticing these kind of distinct aromas that are there. That seems to be a kind of signature of Bushy's. I mean, I've had 2 beers and I can notice there's a connection there with this kind of smell it's got. And it's got a nice level of sweetness, a nice satisfying level of sweetness. It's not overly sweet, but it's not lacking sweetness. It's got a nice level of sweetness, and it's just got this nice kind of flowiness to the mid-tongue, which is just really enjoyable. And although there's a bit of bitterness there isn't really much, especially for my kind. I do like a strong bitter. I mean, I've never had that fact. I do like a good strong bitter finish. The beer's probably better not to have that, because I think it would kind of unbalance it, like I said. But overall, if you just take it as a beer in its own right and forget what I would want in a bitter and what I'm actually drinking in this bitter, it's actually a very nice beer. It really is. And it's ticking a lot of the boxes, and I'm quite happy, because it's, you know, sometimes I've had it in the past where even though it's in the bottle, if a beer's good enough, it can still shine through even though it's in the bottle. And I've had that, and I've had other ones where in the bottle it's bloody dreadful, but if you actually get a pint of it in the pub, then it's a completely different animal. And again, you end up looking like a twat because you've just reviewed it in the bottle, and then you've got regular viewers who actually drink it in the pub, and they're saying, how can you say that? That beer's lovely. Because again, there's just a huge big difference between drinking it in the bottle and drinking it in the pub. And sometimes it just doesn't transfer. Whereas I'd like to actually try. I'd like to try this actually in a pub, which means I have to go to the Isle of Man, which means I have to get off my arse, and of course I have to spend money and everything else and things like that. And as a Scotsman, that's a dirty thought. Although in saying that, though, the wife's coming. I mean, look at me, seriously. Look at the hair, by the way. I'm waiting for the wife to come back, not because, oh, you're missing me. No, I need a haircut, love. I could go and get the haircut again by the lassie with the tattoos. You know what I mean? Just seriously. But look at me. I've got a head of hair on me, like basically. Look at it. It's just. I'm just a shaggy mess right now. I mean, seriously, it's a bloody mess. I mean, I've got a head of hair on me. I've got a kind of shagginess to me. I've got a head of hair on me, like basically Robin Williams' arsehole. I mean, I still think the case of the reason he committed suicide wasn't to do because he was depressed or anything like that. He was just sick of bloody shaving himself, you know what I mean? And being waxed and everything else for all his movies, you know, because he was he was so hairy we put a lot of Turkish men to shame, you know what I mean? Oh fuck, I've invented them now as well. Get out of here. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to the wife coming back, because I'm that tight I don't want to go back to the hairdressers again. I've already had to do it a few times so far since she's been away, and she usually does my hair, and I don't know if it's particularly good or not, but it's cheap, so there you go. So yeah, I could maybe take the wife on a sightseeing tour to the Isle of Man. Of course, we'd like to go to the Isle of Man. There's some lovely historical places to go and visit, love. You'd love it. You and the wee man can go and look at that. I'm a bit tired today. I'll maybe join you in the after. In the evening, you know, that type of thing. And maybe go and try some of these beers in the flesh. But yeah, this is a nice beer. It's just a nice level of sweetness, a nice level of hoppiness with the kind of floral notes in the mid-tongue. But again, you just notice that kind of quality. There's a kind of clarity there because, again, a kind of freshness because there isn't got all the kind of other crap added into it. Yeah, sometimes you can be adding adjuncts and yeah, you can maybe get additional flavours, but sometimes it just kind of slightly muddies the water in the process. So when you're getting this flavour, it just slightly muddies other flavours and you lose a bit of clarity to them and everything else. And this is one of the things is where I'm a big believer in good quality ingredients and knowing your processes to get what you want from these ingredients. You don't need all these additional flavours and all these kind of adjuncts and all this other nonsense and different brewing sugars and glucoses and all that, because I don't like them either. I'm sorry, there's plenty of other people that have had arguments in the past saying, oh yeah, you need them, and without them the beer wouldn't be as good. Well, I don't think the beer right now is particularly good in a lot of ways anyway, so I would rather the sugars come from the starches and the grains and the malts, and using the actual good processes of basically, you know, allowing the enzymes to do their job to actually extract these sugars from the starches, you know. That was the whole process. I don't need to add additional sugars because I can't be arsed, or I can't wait, or whatever, you know what I mean? Or I want to try and kind of skip certain parts of the process. That to me is not good brewing. This is good brewing because it's not doing that, because it can't do that. And it's one of these ones where, like, you take one arm, you know, and you hold it behind his back, and it actually makes a better product. Rather than nowadays where we've got both hands and that type of stuff, but we can't be arsed using them, so what we'll do is we'll take shortcuts. And I'm not a fan of that. And I think that's one of the big problems in the UK nowadays. I think it's probably going to be one of the reasons why maybe cask ales and breweries have been struggling, is because they haven't been producing the same quality and standard of ales that they have in the past. And this is the problem. And even at the time where maybe kind of ale was more popular, like 60s and 70s, again, you were getting a lot of shit, you know, Watney's, you know, Party 7 nonsense and things like that. You think, yeah, okay, there might be an ale and everything else, but it's fucking piss, you know what I mean? And this is the problem, that between, obviously, pubs can't be arsed looking after casks and everything else, and they want basically, you know, basically plug and pour, you know, with the kegs. I mean, that's one thing that they all dived on it, and this is a thing where pubs, all these pubs are closing. Well, at the end of the day, you played your part, because instead of basically going on and keep cask ales going and everything else, you've all played your part by basically jumping on the bandwagon and go for the easy option, the old plug and pour kegs and all this type of stuff. And now, you know, you shafted the real ale cask kind of drinkers and decent breweries and things like that. And again, there's the cases of you've all played your part to make shitty beer, and now pubs are shutting and everything else. I say, well, fuck you, is my view, because at the end of the day, you deserve everything you get, because you've all played your part in the downfall of good quality British ale. So, I mean, there's been many factors, but they've all played their part, including pubs taking easy options and, well, it's more profitability and we don't need to have a cellarman and all this type of stuff, and and we can get, you know, some wee lassie who we're paying piss all to, you know, behind the bar, she can go and swap over a keg and it's all fucking great and that type of stuff, you know. And the punters, well, yeah, they're drinking piss, who gives a fuck, you know, it's all that kind of stuff. And yeah, it's just got into kind of really dirty kind of downward spiral where everybody's kind of had their part to play in the downward spiral. And then there's a case of, by the looks of what's happening in the Isle of Man, it's like a breath of fresh air of how it used to be, you know, the way we were, you know, that kind of thing. And yeah, we're sitting here in Shitsville, in the mainland, then buggers are whipping it up. The buggers, you know what I mean, having a right good time, thinking, why do we need to leave, you know? We got beer, quality beer, you know what I mean, the scary thing is, I don't understand why everybody goes to the Isle of Man for the TT. They should be going for the bloody beer. They should go for the, you know, should be the RB. They should be going for a real beer rather than the TT. You mean, gee, saying that, my mate's going there this year. He says it cost a bloody fortune, by the way, and what a nightmare it was to try and get accommodation. To the point is, I think he's basically in a porter cabin. A Hilton, as we used to call them in the construction days. You know, we're all in basically porter cabins with bunk beds. They used to be known as the Hiltons, as we called them. Well, we called them in Scotland. I don't know what they called them anywhere else in the UK, but we used to call them the Hiltons, which were just basically porter cabins, you know, with an electric heater, a drying room, and a row of bunk beds, and strong smell of farts in there, you know what I mean? And that was just me, you know. But so the Hiltons. And then there's the cases of, I think they can't get a ferry back because he's taking his bike over, so he can't get a ferry back until basically so many days, I think about 3 or 4 days after the TT actually finishes, because they just can't get on a ferry to get back because everybody's on there before them and booked in. So yes, it's been a bit of a trial and tribulation. Problem is, he's a Guinness drinker, so when he's over there, he won't even get a chance to enjoy these type of beers because he'll be drinking the Guinness, and you think, seriously? It's lost in people. I just don't understand it. So we break down these flavours. Right, start off front of mouth. Nice bit of malt, light caramel, lovely. Little bit of sweetness. And this is where you get the aroma from. You get this slightly kind of toasty kind of grain feel to it. It's almost a kind of like granola. And because there's a kind of the sweetness of the malt, because you've got the sweetness, you've got the kind of slightly caramel flavour, and the sweetness and the caramel kind of flavour of the malt kind of go together. Then you have this slight kind of toasty kind of grain flavour. And what it does is, again, the sweetness goes with it and all that, and it is like sticking your face into a bag of granola. It really is quite nice. And it just kind of screams quality of ingredients, because they are very clear and very distinct, and the aroma, Jesus, you can smell it, it's just lovely. It's a kind of really enticing aroma, you know. So I was just imagining the Bisco Kids, where you can imagine basically beer drinkers kind of following the kind of similar kind of aroma, you know, off to the pub, that type of thing. Moves on to the mid-tongue. Sweetness still kind of stays, it maybe drops a little bit, but still kind of stays basically the same. You've still got the nice caramel tones of the malt. You've still got this nice kind of toasty grains kind of thing to it. And that's what it is as well. See, I used to smoke and all that. Have you ever had Lucky Strike American cigarettes with the toasted tobacco, and you used to get a little kind of slight toasted edge when you go, oh, Jesus, American bastard. You know, that type of thing. Try to look cool to the women. American cigarette. You know, that type of thing. You know, oh, I smoke them all the time, love. You know, that type of thing. But it has that like kind of slight toastiness to it as well, and it kind of slightly, well, I'm not saying it reminds me of cigarettes, but there's just a kind of similarity between that kind of toastiness. But what you are getting is some nice tones of thoroughness. So you are in the mid-tongue, which again just adds another dimension to the beer, which is really nice. It's a nice malt forward beer, but it has a nice little bit of hoppiness. Now, obviously with a traditional bitter, that you'd have more of a hoppiness at the back end to give you a bit more bitterness. There's a little bit of bitterness there, but not much. The main thing is the hops are giving you a nice kind of floralness, which again is refreshing, because again you don't really get hops so much as a floralness in these type of beers. You'll get most of them that I've come across, basically recently over the last 2 or 3 years. You'll find them more in golden ales than you would be in, and maybe the odd amber ale, but you wouldn't really get it in what something classed as a premium ale or bitter. And it moves from the kind of mid-tongue, and as it moves, you start getting light kind of bitter tones, just ever so very gentle. I mean, not strong at all, just a nice little kind of, which I suppose enough to give a bit of balance, but not enough to satisfy my cravings, you know, that type of thing. But because you've got the hoppiness of, I would remember, the best way to kind of put it, this to me is more of a kind of slightly honey edge kind of ale. It's a nice kind of summery kind of beer, so it is. And it's got a nice little floralness, nice level of sweetness, a little bit. I mean, it's got some really nice, enjoyable flavours that just Perfect for the summertime, springtime, summertime, that type of thing. Maybe you can get into the autumn. And it's that type of thing. And I think that having too much bitters at the back end would maybe just give it a little bit of darkness that it doesn't need. It wants that kind of lightness, that little bit of freshness to it. And with the floralness, it just seems to give it that way. It's a happy, enjoyable, sessionable ale. And yes, you can't have bitterness in every beer because it just wouldn't work. And with this one, having too much bitterness just wouldn't work on it. It's not that type of ale. But it is a nice ale, and it's nicely balanced, and it's got these lovely toasted kind of notes which are really, really nice and quite prominent. But overall, a very sessionable, very drinkable ale. But what would I give this out of 10? There's a question. It really is a very nice beer. It really is. And again, I'm picking up tones that you wouldn't normally pick up in a lot of beers, whether in the bottles or whether, in the pub. Just because it's a case as though some of the kind of clarity of these flavours are lost because of all the other crap they add into it. And I always keep saying, as a home brewer, and when I brew things and things like that, I don't really want to add too much stuff to it. And that's the thing that kind of stands out, is a case I keep saying less is more. So this is a prime example, just like with the oyster stout I had as well. Less is more. You don't need all this kind of nonsense. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Because the old situation is that take the standard ingredients everybody else is using, but do it properly. Don't cut any corners. Give it the bit of time that it needs. Because sometimes there's the cases of the corner cutting isn't to bring better flavours or additional flavours. Sometimes the shortcuts is just to basically, circumvent certain parts of the process or reduce certain parts of the process. And again, you lose on that. To the point is that I've reviewed a hell of a lot of bottles. You've got to remember, over the years I have been reviewing hundreds of bottles of all different beers. And the thing that stands out is there's only been a few I've said that has that clarity of flavour and that kind of slight freshness to them. The majority of them have a slightly kind of mugginess. It's almost if like, it's slightly kind of, the volume's turned down a bit. And this is a kind of mugginess or kind of muddiness to the flavours. They're just not as clear or as fresh as you would really want them to be. Or the predominant clear flavour is it's too sweet, because you know that it's a case as though they're adding additional sugars that aren't natural, and just basically you're getting a sweetness there that I'm noticing nowadays in a lot of beers that they really shouldn't be that sweet, and they weren't in the past. But beer nowadays just seems to be, in general, the move is that beer in the UK mainland, especially in the ales, is getting sweeter and sweeter in the bottles. Obviously I'm not spending enough time in pubs and things like that to kind of comment from that side, although what I have noticed is what I'm doing in the kegs, you're not getting that same level of sweetness, but it just seems to be in the bottles that the levels is actually going up, and it seems to be the kind of predominant flavours in quite a lot of beers that it wasn't in the past. So again, do you know what it reminds me of? So some of this beer, it reminds me of, I'm trying to remember the name of the brewery on the Isle of Wight. There's a couple of beers in Isle of Wight that are quite kind of similar to this. But again, still not as clear as them, but they have similar tones. There was a couple of ones that I've had where there was a nice bit of floralness and everything else, but just didn't have that nice kind of toasted edge to the grains and everything else. And you can taste that, where you weren't getting it with them. And again, it just feels like, it's been kind of dialed back because they've been adding other things to it, and it's kind of lost that edge. So, out of 10, what would I give Bushy's TT Isle of Man Premium Manx Ale? Well, again, I'll put all the details and prices down below. I didn't pay for it, so at the end of the day, it's a free beer for me anyway, so straight away, it's always a good thing. Although hopefully I'll get a chance to return the favour to him and that type of stuff. I'll maybe send him a couple of cans of Tennants, because I'm sure he'll love that. He'll be sitting there thinking, there's no point, too much of a good thing and all that. It needs kind of brought down to reality, send him a couple of cans of Tennants or something like that, or maybe some Belhaven pish, and a couple of bottles of that. That would sort him out. That would bring him back to reality, thinking, I'm not leaving the island for 20 years now, I'm going to stick there. If that's what the outside world's like, you can keep it, that type of thing, which I wouldn't blame him. Tag me for fuck's sake so I can't leave the island, you know what I mean? So out of 10, what would I give this? It's a nice ale, it's an easy 8.5. For me, it's a nice easy 8.5. I would like to try it because I think it'd be slightly different if I had it actually in the pub, and I think it's the case as if it was in the pub, then it would probably be a little bit higher, but as a bottle product, 8.5, it's a damn good beer, and I certainly would recommend it. And unfortunately I've only got one, and this is it. So again, I've got that kind of anxiety of, well, there you go. Don't drink too much of it during the review so you can actually enjoy a little bit of it afterwards. Yeah, that's gone well, isn't it? So yes, it's 4.4%, 500ml bottle. Prices will be down below. It's Bushy's TT Manx Premium Ale. It's 8.5 out of 10. I would definitely recommend it. It's very nice. If you like a bit of floralness to it, if you like a bit of clarity of flavour, it ticks all the boxes. And overall, it's a really, really nice ale. And if you could get it in the mainland, I would definitely recommend it. Although I don't think you can. But you never know. Anyway, thanks for watching. Cheers. And bye for now.